I was scrolling through my feed when I saw it, her with him, and my name tagged like a joke. My stomach dropped, like I'd just missed a step going downstairs, that sudden lurch where your heart jumps into your throat. I was 24, holed up in this sterile hotel room in Chicago for a work conference, 800 miles from home, the kind of place with thin walls and a mini fridge that hummed like it was mocking me. And there it was, popping up on my Instagram notifications, a photo of my girlfriend, Sarah, laughing on some sun-drenched beach, this random guy's arms slung casually around her waist, her head tilted into his shoulder like they'd known each other forever. The caption hit me hardest, living it up in Miami. At Jake_Miller, wish you were here. My own name, tagged right there, like she was taunting me, or maybe just being careless in a way that cut deeper than intentional cruelty. I zoomed in, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it over the AC unit rattling in the corner. Hoping, praying it was a misunderstanding, a brother, a cousin, some platonic friend from the group. But the way they were pressed together, her hand resting lightly on his chest, his smile all smug and possessive, it wasn't friendly. It was intimate, the kind of pose couples do when they're lost in their own world. My phone felt like a heavy brick in my hand, slipping from my sweaty palm as I just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring, the room spinning a little. Sarah and I had been together for 2 solid years, and sure, we'd had our share of arguments, stupid stuff like who forgot to pay the electric bill or why I worked too late, but I thought we were rock solid, the real deal. She was supposed to be on a girls' trip, or at least that's what she told me. Just me and the girls, babe, blowing off steam, she'd texted earlier that week, complete with a cute selfie from the airport, blowing a kiss at the camera. Now this? The comments were already flooding in, her friends hyping her up with fire emojis and "Yas Queen" replies, some random accounts dropping heart eyes and flirty notes. One dude even commented, "Lucky guy," and it made me want to hurl. I felt sick to my stomach, this wave of nausea mixing with betrayal, but worse than that, I felt stupid, like I'd been blind to something right in front of me. How did I not see this coming? Was it those late-night calls she'd brush off as nothing important? The way she'd been distant the past month, snapping at me over small things? I screenshotted the post before she could realize and delete it, my hands shaking like I was holding evidence in a crime scene. Part of me wanted to call her right then and there, scream into the phone, demand answers that would probably just hurt more. But another part, this dark, gnawing voice in my head, wanted to sit with it, dig deeper, figure out exactly how far this betrayal went before I blew everything up. I didn't sleep a wink that night, just kept refreshing her profile every few minutes, waiting for more clues, more posts, anything that might confirm or deny the nightmare unfolding in my mind. Let me back up a bit, because this whole mess doesn't land right without some real context on how we got here. I'm Jake, just your average guy from Philly, grinding away at a sales job that's more about hitting quotas and dealing with asshole clients than any kind of glory or excitement. I'm not the type to turn heads in a room, average build from too many desk days and not enough gym time, brown hair that I can never get to stay styled, and a face that's forgettable, the kind that blends right into a crowd at a bar or a party. Sarah, though. She's the opposite, always has been. Bright blue eyes that sparkle when she's excited, a laugh that's infectious, like it pulls you in and makes you feel like you're the funniest person alive, and she's got this energy that lights up any room she walks into. We met back during my last year of college, at this dive bar near campus where everyone went for cheap drafts and bad karaoke nights. She was working as a barista at the time, saving up every tip for graphic design school, dreaming of starting her own freelance gig one day. I was there with some buddies, belting out an off-key version of some 90s rock song, and she caught my eye from behind the bar, smirking like she knew how ridiculous I sounded. We hit it off over shared laughs about the terrible singers, swapping stories about our crappy jobs and favorite bands, and by the end of the night, I had her number. Fast forward 2 years, and we were sharing this cozy little apartment in South Philly, the kind with exposed brick walls and a kitchen too small for 2 people to cook in at once. We'd talk about the future all the time, marriage, maybe, if things kept going well, kids way down the line, but for now, just building something real. I wasn't perfect, I know that. My job had me traveling more than I liked, pulling long hours that left me drained, and yeah, I'd forget to check in sometimes or get wrapped up in my own stress. But I loved her, trusted her completely. She was the spontaneous one in our relationship, always planning these weekend getaways or dragging me to some quirky art gallery I pretended to understand. When she mentioned the Miami trip a few weeks back, I didn't even question it. "Girls' weekend, babe," she'd said, packing her bikini and sundresses with that excited grin. "We need some sun after this rainy spring." I kissed her goodbye at the airport, told her to have fun, and she texted when she landed, a quick selfie with her sunglasses on, heart emoji attached. Everything felt so damn normal, like we were just another couple navigating life. Until that photo shattered it all. The rest of the conference dragged on like a bad dream, a blur of endless PowerPoint slides on market trends and forced networking events where I shook hands with strangers while my mind was 1,000 miles away, replaying that image over and over. I kept checking my phone obsessively, hoping for some text from her, an explanation popping up like, "Hey, that was my cousin," or anything to make it make sense. But nothing came, just complete radio silence, which only made the knot in my stomach tighter. I sent her a casual message, "Hey, how's Miami treating you?" trying to play it cool, act like I hadn't seen the post, but inside, I was spiraling out of control. Was this guy just a random fling she picked up at a bar? An old friend I didn't know about? Or worse, someone she'd been talking to behind my back? I couldn't stop stalking his profile, at Ryan Vibes, this tan dude with a total gym bro vibe, all shirtless beach selfies and cryptic quotes about seizing the day and living in the moment. Sarah had liked every single one of his recent posts, going back weeks. My brain went to the darkest places imaginable. Were they together right now, laughing about me? Had she planned this whole thing, using the girls' trip as a cover? I started replaying every little moment in our relationship, hunting for cracks I'd missed. Like how she'd been so glued to her phone lately, smiling at texts she'd quickly hide when I walked into the room. I'd ask who it was, and she'd snap, "Just work stuff, Jake, God, why are you always so paranoid?" I'd back off, not wanting to be that jealous boyfriend everyone warns about, but now it all felt like red flags waving in my face. I'd let it slide because I trusted her, because I didn't want to rock the boat in what I thought was a happy relationship. Now I felt like the biggest idiot alive, sitting there in that hotel room, the city lights flickering outside my window while I scrolled through old photos of us, wondering if any of it was real. Even back in Philly, before the trip, I'd notice her friends' posts, party shots from nights out, beach vibes from past vacations, but there was never any sign of this Ryan guy until now. It made me question if her circle knew, if they were in on it, covering for her with smiles and likes. I couldn't bring myself to confront her over the phone. I needed to see her face, watch her eyes for the truth, hear the tremble in her voice if she lied. The flight home was absolute torture, my mind looping through every possible script of what I'd say, how she'd react, if she'd cry or deny or finally come clean. When I finally landed and grabbed a cab straight to our apartment, my hands were clammy, my pulse racing like I was heading into battle. Sarah was there, unpacking her suitcase on the living room floor, humming some tune like nothing had happened. "Hey, babe," she said, looking up with that bright smile, coming over for a hug. It felt so normal, so genuine, that for a split second, I almost convinced myself it was all a misunderstanding. But that photo was burned into my brain, impossible to ignore. "Good trip?" I asked, my voice tighter than I wanted, hugging her back but feeling this wall between us. She nodded, launching into stories about wild bars and epic sunsets, not a single mention of any guys. I tried to listen, to act normal, but my mind was screaming. Finally, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Who's Ryan?" I blurted out, pulling up the screenshot on my phone and holding it out like evidence. Her face froze instantly, eyes wide, color draining like she'd seen a ghost. It's not what you think," she stammered, her voice cracking just enough to confirm my worst fears. That's when the real conflict exploded, and I knew, deep down, nothing in our world would ever be the same again. The main conflict slammed into me right there in our cramped living room, the air thick with the scent of her sunscreen still lingering from the suitcase half unpacked on the couch. Sarah's face shifted from shock to full-on panic as I held up that screenshot, the photo of her and Ryan staring back at us like an accusation I couldn't take back. "Jake, it's nothing, really," she said, stepping toward me with her hands out, but I backed away instinctively, my chest feeling like it was caved in. "Nothing? You tagged me in a photo with some random guy's arm wrapped around you like you're his." My voice came out louder than I intended, trembling with this raw mix of anger and deep hurt that I couldn't control. She flinched, wrapping her arms around herself like she could somehow shield the truth from coming out. "It was a joke, okay? Just a dumb, drunk post that got out of hand." But her eyes darted away from mine, refusing to lock on, and that avoidance told me more than any words could. It wasn't a joke, not even close. A joke? I snapped back, starting to pace the room because standing still felt impossible, the walls closing in, the air getting heavier. "You're pressed up against him, Sarah, your hand on his chest, looking all cozy. And you tagged me, like I'm supposed to laugh it off while I'm stuck at work." She sank down onto the couch then, burying her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered, but her voice was so hollow, so rehearsed, it only fueled the fire in me. I pressed harder, needing answers. Then why tag me at all? Why him? Who is he? That's when she finally broke, tears spilling down her cheeks as she looked up at me with those blue eyes I used to lose myself in. "Okay, fine. It was a mistake. I was drunk, we were all partying hard, and things happened that shouldn't have. Things happened." Those two words landed like a knife twisting in my gut. I froze right there, staring at her, willing her to take it back, to laugh and say it was all some cruel prank. But she didn't. "What things, Sarah?" I asked, my voice dropping low, dreading the answer but needing it like air. She looked away again, biting her lip hard, like she was fighting to keep the words in. "We kissed. That's it, Jake. I swear, it was just a stupid, drunk moment that got out of control. Just a kiss." The word "just" echoed in my head, but it didn't make it hurt any less. My mind raced ahead. Was it really only that, or was she downplaying something way bigger? I wanted so badly to believe her, to cling to the idea that it was a one-off slip, but the photo, her radio silence during the trip, the way she'd been dodging my texts all weekend, it all pointed to something uglier, something deliberate. "You kissed him," I repeated, trying to wrap my head around it, the image flashing in my mind like a bad movie scene. "And then you turn around and tag me in a photo with him, like what, to rub it in my face? To make sure I saw?" She shook her head frantically, wiping at her tears. "No. God, no, Jake. I was wasted, not thinking straight. I tagged you because I missed you, I swear that's all it was." "Missed me?" The excuse felt like another slap, twisting the knife deeper, because if she missed me, why not call? Why not text something real instead of this? I wanted to yell, to storm out and slam the door, but I was rooted to the spot, torn between the rage bubbling up and this desperate, pathetic need to understand why she'd do this to us. I ended up crashing on the couch that night, the apartment feeling too small, too suffocating to share a bed with her. She went to our room, closing the door softly, and I just lay there in the dark, scrolling through her socials like some obsessed stalker, digging for any more crumbs that might explain this nightmare. Ryan's profile was still public, full of those smug, self-absorbed posts, more beach pics from the trip, one even showing Sarah's friends in the background, all laughing like they were having the time of their lives, dated the exact same weekend. My gut twisted harder. Had her friends known about this? Had they covered for her, taken photos while she flirted with this guy? I checked her likes, her comments history, anything that might give me a clue, a timeline. There was a story archived from one of her friends, a blurry video from a club, Sarah dancing under flashing lights, Ryan way too close, his hands on her hips. No obvious kiss, but the vibe was undeniable, intimate, charged. I felt this wave of betrayal wash over me, not just from her but from the entire life we'd built together. Our apartment, with her colorful art pieces hanging on the walls and our shared Netflix queue full of shows we binge-watched on lazy Sundays, it all felt like a carefully constructed lie now. I kept flashing back to the past 2 years, those late nights cuddled up watching horror movies, her head on my chest as she jumped at the scary parts, promising we'd always be honest with each other, no secrets. Had she been lying even then, hiding parts of herself I never saw? The next day, I could barely look at her. She tried to talk over breakfast, her voice small and pleading, leaving voicemails when I stepped out for air that I just ignored. "Jake, please, let's fix this. It was a mistake." Fix it? How do you fix something as fundamental as trust when it's been shattered into a million pieces? I ended up crashing at a buddy's place that evening, needing space to clear my head before I said something I couldn't take back. Mike, my oldest friend from high school, listened as I spilled the whole story over beers on his couch, showing him the screenshot like it was Exhibit A in my case. "She really fucked up, man," he said, blunt as ever, shaking his head. "But hey, people make mistakes, you know. The question is, can you live with it, or is it time to cut ties?" I didn't have an answer. Part of me wanted to forgive her, to hold on to the good times and believe we could rebuild. But the other part, the one that replayed that photo every time I closed my eyes, wanted to burn the whole relationship to the ground, walk away and never look back. I kept checking my phone obsessively, half expecting another post from her, another tag that would twist the knife. But there was nothing, just this eerie silence, which somehow felt even worse, like she was avoiding me on purpose. When I finally went back to the apartment a couple days later to confront her properly, Sarah was a total mess, red-rimmed eyes, hair tangled like she hadn't bothered to brush it, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. "I'm so sorry, Jake," she said before I could even open my mouth, her voice cracking. "It was one night, that's all. I was drunk and lonely, and he didn't mean anything to me. Lonely? The word stung because I'd been calling her every night during the trip, checking in, telling her I missed her too. You could have talked to me about feeling lonely, I said, my voice breaking despite trying to stay strong. Instead, you chose him, a stranger. She cried harder then, reaching out for me, but I stepped back, the distance feeling necessary. That's when she dropped the real bomb, the one that changed everything. It wasn't just a kiss, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper, like saying it out loud made it too real. We slept together. Once. I regretted it the second it was over. My world tilted on its axis, the room spinning as that word, once, hung in the air, not softening the blow at all. I felt exposed, humiliated, like everyone who'd seen that post knew I'd been played for a fool. Once? I echoed, my voice hollow. The betrayal wasn't just physical anymore, it was emotional, a complete erosion of everything I thought we had. The suspense built over the next week, every single moment feeling like a test of what I'd do next, how much more I could take before breaking. I moved out temporarily, crashing on Mike's couch with a duffel bag of clothes, trying to sort through the chaos in my head while avoiding her calls. Sarah kept texting non-stop, begging to meet up, promising she'd do anything to make it right, to prove it was a one-time thing. I ignored most of them, but I couldn't ignore the questions gnawing at me day and night. Who was Ryan, really? Was this truly a one-time drunken slip, or was there a pattern I'd been too blind to see? I started digging deeper, turning into some obsessive detective in my own life. I messaged one of her friends from the trip, Tara, keeping it vague. Hey, what really went down in Miami? Sarah's acting weird. Tara was super cagey in her reply, saying it was just a wild night out, nothing crazy, but her hesitance, the way she dodged specifics, spoke volumes. She knew more than she was letting on. I went back to Ryan's Instagram, noticing he'd posted a cryptic story right after the trip, some nights change everything, no regrets. My blood boiled reading it. Had Sarah told him about me? Was I the punchline in their little adventure? The thought made me sick, this fear that I was the oblivious boyfriend in everyone's eyes. I couldn't let it go, couldn't just sit with the unknowns. I arranged to meet Sarah at a neutral coffee shop downtown, somewhere public where I wouldn't lose my cool. She showed up looking small and fragile, not the vibrant, confident girl I fell for, her eyes puffy from crying. I was drunk, Jake, she said as soon as we sat down, tears already streaming. Ryan was just there at the bar. He flirted, I was stupid and went along with it. It didn't mean anything, I promise. I wanted to believe her so badly, to accept that it was a momentary lapse, but the photo, the deliberate tag, it felt too personal, too calculated, like she wanted me to see it and hurt. Why tag me in it, then? I pressed, my voice steady but my hands clenched under the table. She hesitated, looking down at her coffee, stirring it endlessly. I don't know, honestly. I was mad you were gone for work again, maybe. It was a dumb, drunk mistake, nothing more. Mad at me? For doing my job, for providing for us? The betrayal cut even deeper, turning into this bitter resentment. I asked more about Ryan, who he was to her beyond that night. Just a guy from the bar, someone we met as a group, she said quickly. I haven't talked to him since, I swear. But right then, her phone buzzed on the table between us, and I glanced down, his name flashed on the screen, Ryan. My heart sank like a stone. You're still talking to him? I asked, my voice turning cold, accusatory. She stammered, fumbling for the phone, "No, it's not like that. Just a follow-up text or something." But I was done listening, done with the lies piling up. I left the shop without another word, the suspense of what came next hanging over me like a storm cloud. That night, I did something I'm not proud of at all, something that crossed a line I never thought I would. I logged into her Instagram account. Yeah, I knew her password from when we shared stuff like that, back when trust was a given. The trust was already shattered, so what was one more invasion? Her DMs with Ryan were still there, undeleted, a trail of flirty messages going back before the trip even, light banter that escalated during Miami, and a few after. "Missed that night already," he'd written just days ago. She'd replied with a winking emoji and a, "Me too, but shoo." My hands shook as I read it all, this mix of shame for snooping and pure rage at the confirmation. I wanted to confront her again right then, storm over and throw it in her face, but what was the point? She'd lied repeatedly, kept lying even when I gave her chances to come clean. It made me question everything about us, every late night she'd stayed out with friends, every girls' night I hadn't questioned because I didn't want to seem controlling. Was this the first time she'd cheated? Or just the first time I'd caught her red-handed? The build-up felt relentless, like a slow burn that was consuming me from the inside out. I couldn't focus at work, my boss pulling me aside to ask if everything was okay because I was zoning out in meetings. Sleep was a joke. I'd lie awake on Mike's lumpy couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every good moment we'd had to see if it balanced the bad. Road trips where we'd sing along to old playlists, her laughing hysterically at my terrible cooking attempts, the way she'd curl into me during thunderstorms, whispering how safe she felt. Could I really throw all that away over one massive mistake? But it wasn't just one anymore, the lies, the tag, the ongoing messages, it was a whole pattern of deception. I started noticing other red flags I'd ignored, how she'd always downplay my insecurities, call me paranoid whenever I asked about her guy friends from work or the gym. Was I the fool all along, too trusting, too willing to see the best in her? In a move that was probably stupid but felt necessary, I decided to meet Ryan face to face. I DM'd him from my account, keeping it civil at first. "Hey, saw you with Sarah in that photo. What's the deal between you two?" He was cocky as hell in his reply, "She had a good time, man. Don't sweat the small stuff." A good time. The casualness made me want to punch through my screen. Instead, I pushed for a meetup, saying I just wanted to talk. Surprisingly, he agreed, suggesting some dive bar in Philly where the music was loud and the lights dim. He showed up looking exactly like his profile, tan skin, smug grin, the kind of guy who thinks he's God's gift because he can bench press his weight. "Look, dude," he said, sipping his beer like we were old pals, "Sarah was into it from the start. Not my fault if she didn't mention having a boyfriend. Didn't mention me. We lived together, shared a life." I felt invisible, completely erased from her narrative. "She tagged me in the photo," I said, my voice tight, trying not to let the anger show. He smirked, leaning back. "Yeah, that was all her idea. Said you'd been distant lately, working too much or something." Her idea? The betrayal deepened into this fresh, raw wound, confirming it wasn't just a drunk slip, it was intentional, a way to hurt me back for whatever resentment she'd been harboring. I left the bar with my head spinning, wondering if I'd ever really known the woman I loved, or if it was all a facade. Back at the apartment for what I knew would be the final confrontation, Sarah was already packing some bags, sensing the end was near. She looked up as I walked in, her eyes pleading. "I saw your DMs with him," I said flat out, no point in hiding how I knew. Her face crumpled, more tears coming. "Jake, I was confused, okay? I messed up bad, but I still love you." Love? The word rang empty now, meaningless after all the deception. I asked the one question I'd been avoiding, the one that could break me completely: was this the first time you cheated? She hesitated, a second too long, her eyes flickering with guilt. "There was one other guy, about a year ago. Just a fling, nothing serious." My heart shattered all over again, the pieces scattering. 2 betrayals. Or were there more she wasn't admitting? I couldn't breathe, the room closing in. "Get out," I said, my voice flat and cold, no room for negotiation. She cried, begged for another chance, but I was done, utterly done. She left that night, her stuff crammed into boxes, the door clicking shut behind her like the end of a chapter. The aftermath was this quiet, heavy fog that settled over everything. I kept the apartment, but it felt haunted by her presence, her abstract art still hanging crooked on the walls, her favorite mug in the cabinet, even the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the pillows. I blocked her on every platform, but not before catching one last post from her, a solo selfie, looking somber, captioned, "Learning from mistakes and moving on." Too little, too late. I threw myself into therapy, unpacking the deep trust issues this whole ordeal had unearthed. I'd always been a bit insecure, worried I wasn't exciting enough or successful enough to keep someone like her. This betrayal confirmed those fears, at first. But therapy helped me flip the script, see that Sarah's choices were her own baggage, not a reflection of my worth as a person. The real twist came months later, when Tara, her friend from the trip, reached out unexpectedly with a message: "Jake, you deserve the full truth." She spilled it all. Sarah hadn't just cheated in Miami, she'd been seeing Ryan for months leading up to it, meeting up secretly during her work lunches, or gym sessions. The photo wasn't a drunk mistake, it was a deliberate power play, a way for Sarah to hurt me because she was jealous of my career focus, felt trapped in our routine life. It didn't excuse any of it, but it gave me the closure I needed to finally let go. I wasn't the problem, she was, with her own unresolved issues. I'm rebuilding now, taking it slow, one day at a time. Dating still feels like a minefield, trust hard to come by, but I'm working on it, learning to value myself more. That photo, that tag, it changed me forever, forced me to question trust, love, and everything in between. But in a weird way, it also made me stronger, pushed me to face my insecurities head-on and come out the other side. What would you do if betrayal hit you like this? Comment below, could you forgive, or would you walk away? Share if you've ever questioned trust in a relationship.